paragraph. Any action taken to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part, and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time, and with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. This paragraph is very much the common sense paragraph. Obviously, in accordance with the rules of this part means the action needs to comply with the rules, we know that, it needs to be positive, in ample time, and you've still got to observe good seamanship. It's all stuff we already know. The second paragraph. Any alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall.
First is action to avoid collision. So, action to avoid collision in accordance with rules means you have to, whatever circumstances of the case, कैसा भी case है, you have to take positive action. Positive action means कि वो सही एक्शन होना चाहिए और वो लोग को दिखना चाहिए कि हाँ तुम एक्शन ले रहे हो. ऐसा नहीं नेगेटिव थोड़ा सा स्टार्बोर्ड में ऑल्टर किया, थोड़ा पोर्ट में ऑल्टर किया तो उसको समझ में ही नहीं आ रहा है. देन इट शुड मेड इन एम्पल टाइम. लास्ट मोमेंट पे एक्शन नहीं लेना है, प्रॉपर टाइम पे एक्शन लेना है, एंड विद ड्यू रिगार्ड टू ऑब्जर्वेशन ऑफ गुड सीमेनशिप. सो जैसे एज पर ROR गुड सीमेनशिप के लोग अच्छे सीमेन करते हैं, वैसे हमें एक्शंस लें. सो वी विल सी द एग्जांपल ऑफ ईच वन बाय वन. Then alteration of course and or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel, observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be avoided. So एक बार में डिसाइड कर लो कितना कोर्स ऑल्टर करना है इसको अवॉइड करने के लिए, 30 डिग्री 40 डिग्री, और वो ऑल्टर कर दो. 5 डिग्री किया, फिर 2 डिग्री किया, फिर 1 डिग्री किया. ऐसे नहीं है. तो उसको क्लियरली पता चल जाए कि हाँ ये पोर्ट में स्टारबोर्ड में ऑल्टर कर रहा है. डाउट में नहीं रहना चाहिए वो, चाहे विजुअली देख रहे तो भी. So that is your rule 8 action to avoid collision. How you will take, what actions you will take to avoid collision. So you have to take a good action, positive action as per good seamanship in ample time, and good course, whatever you at one time, not in successive alteration. Large alteration at a time. As you can see, this vessel is altering around 40 degrees, 30 to 40 degrees to avoid this. You have to, later on, we will see that we cannot pass from the bow. So we have to pass astern. So now, when you know when it is passing astern and CPA is less, better to alter 30 degrees at once so that it's clear to her also. That is what part B is saying. Now, if there is sufficient sea room, alteration of course alone may be the most effective action to avoid a close cutter situation. So, of course, first alteration of course is always better. Why? Because engine takes a lot of time to respond, reduce, and increase speed. But alteration of course is fast. So we want faster action, and we don't want to disturb the engine also that way. So, like you see in this situation, you have so much of sea room. You should reduce or alter speed only when sea room is not enough and you are not able to alter course properly, or only alteration of course will give a not solve your problem. Then you should come to the engine. First option is always alteration of course. So you can see even reducing speed will help, but it will take long time, and by the time situations can get worse also, and it can damage or have some negative impact on the engine also. So So that's why this rule is saying that if you have sufficiency room, alteration of course is the most effective action to avoid a situation. But it should be substantial and does not result in another close quarter situation. So like here you can see this blue vessel is altering speed. So here it started reducing speed and speed reduced here. And see by reducing speed how close it is passing to this vessel. So this is not an effective alteration because it's not apparent to another vessel, and also it's resulting, it's not quite passing quite clear. So as per rules, also the first thing is you have to alter course instead of reducing the speed or altering the speed. Now D is action taken to avoid collision with other vessels shall be such as to result in passing at a safe distance. So as many companies have their minimum CPA 1 mile or 2 miles at sea. So as per that, you have to maintain as per the different situations what is the minimum CPA, that is a safe distance, and the effectiveness of the action shall be carefully checked until the other vessel is finally passed and clear. So till the other vessel is quite well clear of you, you have to keep monitoring that there is a safe distance is maintained, and if necessary to avoid collision or allow more time to assess the situation, a vessel shall slacken her speed or take all way off by stopping or reversing her means of propulsion. So if you need time, you can take stop your vessel or even reverse engines to reduce your speed to zero, so that you can assess the situation sometimes if there's too much traffic or you are not able to understand the situation. A vessel by which any of these rules is required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel shall, when required by the circumstances of the case, take early action to allow sufficient sea room for the safe passage of the other vessel. So first thing is the safe passage, which cannot impede the safe passage of another vessel. If other vessel cannot alter, then of course we have to alter. And like if a vessel is going in TSS or a narrow passage or something, so if it is proceeding in her lane or something, or it's a very narrow place which she cannot alter, then we should not overtake her or cross her. So let's see this example. So normally, because we are on the starboard side of container vessel, so container vessel should alter. But if container ship is constrained by a draft, so her passage, safe passage, should not be impeded because she cannot alter. So then we have to alter. So for CBD vessel constrained by a draft, we have to alter. But alteration of course towards port has to be avoided. So we go on the starboard side, take a round turn and pass the as a stern of this vessel. So a vessel required not to impede the passage or safe passage of another vessel is not relieved of this obligation if approaching the other vessel so as to involve risk of collision, and shall, when taking action, have full regard to the action which may be required by the rules of this part. So let's see this example. So, uh, so container vessel here is the giveaway vessel. Normally, normal situation. So this second part is talking about that in case the stand-on vessel is taking some action to avoid risk of collision, a vessel required not to impede the safe passage. So we are stand-on vessel and we are not required to impede the safe passage of another vessel. But in case there is, because of the situation is still developing and collision cannot be avoided, we also have to take action to avoid risk of collision. But when we are taking action, we have to see that it should be such action that we have to keep in mind that other vessel might take action at a later stage also. So let's see this situation that your container vessel and our own green vessel is there. It's normal situation. Container vessel is not CBD. So container vessel, we are on the starboard side. So container vessel is giveaway vessel. But as per one of the rules of the part, we say that she is CBD also. So this is her safe passage. Now, actually, she should have taken action and passed astern of her. But since she didn't take action, so our we took action. Our green vessel is taking action, going to port. But if she takes action at a later stage, she will alter to starboard to pass astern of us, and then we will develop a more close quarter situation. So the better action is to take for us is go to starboard parallel to her course, take a round turn, and pass astern of her if required, or we can continue with parallel course till some time. And the third part is a vessel, the passage of which is not to be impeded, remains fully obliged to comply with the rules when two vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision. So, of course, whenever there is risk of collision, we know that both vessels are responsible as per Rule 2 responsibility, because it's responsibility of all vessels to avoid collision.